Welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. You've seen me out shooting the ATA Turqua. This is the Monte Carlo version of the walnut stock. And it's been a really enjoyable and slightly different rifle to shoot. Number one, this one isn't actually screw cut. As standard, they will be screw cut, but this was an early one I received. And do you know what? It was actually really nice shooting a rifle without a moderator or a muzzle brake or anything, especially in a medium weight rifle like this and a sort of very mild cartridge like the 6.5 Creedmoor, which this rifle is. Because it was just, I don't know, it reminded me of shooting from, times gone by really, where you just, not a huge great punch or anything, but you feel the gun move and you just get that noise and you just get a bit more instinct to it. I really quite liked shooting it. But this rifle is available, 6.5 Creedmoor in the 24-inch barrel, which will be screw cut, and also the 20-inch barrel is available in 243, 308 and 6.5 Creedmoor as well, also screw cut. So that is the standard option. Twist rate on this is a 1 in 8 inch, no problem with bullet stability. You've seen the groups on paper, the groups are all here now. We shot various different types of ammunition. We shot full copper, we shot 120 grain, 143 grain copper bullets, a little bit of movement around the zeroing point, but no problem at all shooting sub-minute of angle at 100 meters, which is 10% further or 9% further than 100 yards. So no issue with that at all. Telling you about the rifle, barrel, it's nice finish on it, it's very smooth, matte finish, no issues with that. It is floated in the stock and the stock is quite rigid. You've got a sling stud at the front, I shot it off a bipod and it's full floated and it's rigid enough that you can shoot it from sticks as well with no issue. Moving backward, you do get a 3-shot and a 5-shot magazine with it. These are single column polymer magazines, as you can see from the video. No problems loading them or the feed or ejection of ammunition from them. Single release catch at the front there, it pops out quite easily. And the bottom metal here is actually a polymer unit, but it's very nicely made and I don't mind that at all because it shows massive investment and confidence in the production of a rifle rather than just banging something out from an aluminium machining. Now the trigger is a 2-stage unit and it's adjustable from 800 to 1600 grams, which is approximately 27 to 55 ounces. I found it quite crisp and predictable in use. You pull through the first stage, you pull it against the second stage, squeeze through and the shot breaks. There's maybe a teeny tiny little bit of creep, but when I take this out of the stock later on, you'll be able to see there is actually some adjustment in there as well. Just to weigh it as it's been supplied to me, I'll just cock this now for a safe dry fire and set the scales going with a pull weight of 1145 grams, which is £2 4.9 ounces. It's a 3-lug bolt, so it's got 60-degree lift. I really like the shape of the bolt handle. It's characteristic, this bolt shape, to quite a few rifles that have really nice performance, and this one followed suit with that. 60-degree lift, it's a fluted bolt. The bolt releases on the side here, and that will just slide out the back there, and you can see the 3 lugs there. So it's got a plunger ejector, again you saw in the video, no issues with that, and extraction is also forceful, no issues. None of this brass was particularly tight in the chamber, none of it's over pressure, nothing like that. So it's a very enjoyable thing to shoot, and the fluting here makes a really nice finish, and the bolt is slick and silent in the action. It's almost impossible to make the bolt jam, even deliberately, and it just pops in and out there. You can feel the cocked action indicator on the back there, so that's the striker you can feel. And on the safety catch, it's a 3-position safety catch, so it's forward for fire, it's got middle for bolt operation and safe, and it's rear with the bolt locked, so everything's locked down and you get a nice operation. You can use that quietly, either with finger and thumb or with just thumb alone, and it doesn't click, so you're not going to scare off any game when you're using it. You can hear there the bolt stroke is very smooth, it's not glitchy, and if I even try to jam that deliberately by pushing the bolt handle outwards, that's actually really quite difficult to jam deliberately. So I'm very pleased with that. On top, we've got a Picatinny rail for scope mounting. That is always a delight. I'm actually just going to take that scope off now because I'm going to do all the weights and measures on this rifle. I do love Picatinny because it means I can just take scopes on and off so easily without losing zero. And although this one is using a 13mm spanner, I often do it with a torque wrench because I don't lose zero then. Pop that out of the way. And there you can see the action in all its glory. So walnut stock, it's Turkish walnut, no surprise there because the gun's made in Turkey. We've got nice, you know, discreet checkering on it. There's a small ATA logo, which I don't think is excessive, both on the fore-end side there and just on the underside of the grip too. Nice to be proud of your workmanship. Trigger adjustment screw goes through there, front sling stud, rear sling stud, and you've got recoil pad at the back, which is nice. It's a kind of firm finish throughout, slightly dished in the centre. You get no issues with that because in a 308 you'd have a little bit more recoil, but the rifle is not a super lightweight, so it gives you a very smooth feel to it. That cheek piece, as you can see, is about as high as you're going to get with clearance on the bolt, and it also slopes uphill slightly. Now that's an interesting thing to look at in rifles, generally speaking, because if you think about it, when that rifle recoils, that cheek piece is effectively moving away from your face and easing pressure. If you imagine the cheek piece was angled upward like that, well, it would be pushing into your face, wouldn't it? So if you look on a lot of rifles, you'll see either a totally parallel cheek piece or one that slopes upward towards the rear slightly. And that generally gives you a really comfortable feel and fit on the rifle, because even through recoil, it just eases that pressure from your face, so you don't have issues with it jerking your head and losing sight picture through the scope's exit pupil. It comes with length of pull spaces, you can adjust it, but length of pull as supplied, let's measure it, it's 14.5 inches, which is 367mm. I'm very happy with that. I found the rifle extremely comfortable to shoot, and of course the stock has a stiff forend, so from the bipod, which you can see me shoot it from, it was incredibly stable and there was no point of impact shift depending on how hard you were loading or if you were a little bit rough with it in the handling aspect. There's a flat underneath on the forend, so when I was shooting from the quad sticks it was nice and stable to shoot with that in that circumstance. And I think generally speaking, the 24-inch barrel, yes, it gives you great velocities. I think in these modern days people are going to go with the moderator and the 20-inch barrel. I personally probably wouldn't go for it in the 243, but the 6.5 Creedmoor is just the cartridge to have these days, and the 308 gives you that little bit more if you're going to be using it for driven game, boring Europe and things like that. As I said, you get a spare 5-round magazine with it. I shot it with a 3-rounder as standard. Those are the length of pull spaces there. But let's just show you it out of the stock now. It tells you how to do all this in the instructions. You just need 5mm Allen key, undo the 2 bolts. And it's well worth noting actually that when you undo these bolts, you can feel there's no springiness. The stock and the action are not bending away from each other. They actually fit in quite good harmony. So let me show you the stock first. I'm just going to put my finger on the 2 action screws, drop the magazine out there just so I don't drop those out of there. And you can see there's actually a bedding block in here, and the action is really nicely inlet neatly with a flat base for it. You've got some inletting here to make sure you lose a bit of weight in the forend without losing stiffness, but that is actually a really nice way of making the rifle. Again, let's look at the bottom of the action now, so you can see it's a totally flat bottom of the action, makes it much easier to inlet the stock, and you've got a nice big heavy recoil lug there which the front action screw fits into and makes sure all that transfer of force goes through the stock in a straight line straight into your shoulder. Recoil pulse on the rifle, no moderator, no brake on it, it's very linear and it's easy to see remain, you know, the view on target even from sticks, never mind when you're as stable as prone. You can see the bolt there in operation, some of the trigger mechanism here, trigger adjustment screws and other factors and features there. It's easy to get to, easy to open up, easy to maintain, and of course you're not going to have any problems with taking things apart and all sorts of springs flying out everywhere because it's been made in a sort of very homogeneous way, and I think it's a nice way of doing things. I suspect that that barrel is screwed into the action, which I would say in the long term means that you can actually have a replacement barrel if you ever to need that, but of course the 3 lugs on the bolt lock into abutments on the receiver itself, so you get a really nice fit and finish and feel for this rifle. Right, let me just pop this back together because I'm going to weigh it then. Tension these screws back in place. Again, when you put them back and you screw them together, you can feel them just nip up and just go solid. You don't feel this bendy springiness in the rifle. I actually shot 2 rifles today, and the other rifle I don't really want to embarrass in comparison, but that one, if you did what I would call the bedding test on it and you release this front action screw, you could see the stock and the barrel go about 10 to 12 millimeters apart just in spring alone, because the stock effectively is not as stiff as the action. It was a lightweight, ultralight carbon fibre stock, and it just bent into position. And although maybe not the end of the world if the stock is that flimsy, well, it's certainly not conducive to no bedding stress, is it? And if you did have a stiffer stock and a stiffer barrel and you're doing that kind of binding together, that would be terrible. And of course the ATA is not doing that. It's a smooth fit and there's no stress in it, so I'm very keen on that. Right, let me just take some weights on this rifle in its entirety. 0 up here. So the weight of the rifle with nothing on it is £8, 4.8 ounces. I just flick through the units, that's 3,766 grams. It isn't a super lightweight rifle, I'm not going to deny that, but again, it is the 24-inch barrel, which gives you more velocity from the cartridges. And if we look at the actual diameter of this barrel, it's actually nearly 18 millimeters diameter at the muzzle. So you would actually have a little bit of weight saving there if you were to go for the 20-inch barrel rifle, which I think is probably going to be the more common, more popular choice, especially for people wanting to add a moderator too, which, let's face it, is the common feature these days. The recoil pad has got a nice hard top there, so it mounts into your shoulder well without sticking or snagging on your clothing, but it's soft and grippy underneath, so it holds in position, and it's not one of these horrible spongy recoil pads that just feels like you can't work out how much pressure you've actually got when you're holding the rifle. Reach to trigger is acceptable, and you get a really nice feel for using the rifle. So I think for the price that this rifle is, which is £750, it is an amazing piece of kit. It's available in multiple stock types. I've tried 2 of them now. I've done the thumb hole walnut stock as well, which is perhaps a little bit more deluxe than this one, but I can see this one as being a super popular option for people who like that traditional looking rifle. And although some people might say, oh, it's made in Turkey, blah, 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 well, it's actually been a very good rifle and it shoots really well. And that is the group it was zeroed with. That's actually another group I shot just aiming there with some different ammo. These groups here, different ammunition types, so a bit of shifting zero is no issue there. But that is the 120 grain bullet zeroed exactly as if I was going hunting with it. So I'm totally happy. Overall length of the rifle is 45 inches or 1140 millimeters. So yes, again, that longer barrel does make for a longer rifle, but if you were to go for this in the 6.5 Creedmoor, which is a pretty good cartridge for sort of low recoil, intermediate range shooting, if you want a club rifle or something like that that you can go hunting with and you can still use on the range, then it's a great option, and that 24-inch barrel does make it that little bit more ballistically capable. And if you're not going to hunt with a moderator and you're only going to maybe shoot 2 or 3 deer a year and you don't physically need a moderator, well, that is actually a very interesting option, and maybe I would think about that longer 24-inch barrel, because it's free speed, that's free ballistics, that's free anti-drop, it's free anti-wind, so it's an option out there for you, isn't it? Right, I hope you've enjoyed that review. Please like, subscribe, comment, and don't forget to click the notification bell to keep track of the regular uploads. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.